has been around for some time. Just imagine the fact that now you can predict when a flight can be delayed because of all the data that you're receiving. So from the weather, what is happening around, then you'll understand that the flights will actually be delayed. Your social media right now, when I was in varsity, whenever I wanted to save a document, we'll use a USB. And at that time, a USB was quite expensive. But in this day and age, we can even have a terabyte in our phones. And that's because there's so much data out there, and saving this data has become cheaper. But industries need to understand and use this data to get the value from it. So just like an Apple Watch or any other watch that dictates a person's ability to exercise, when they're breathing, what are they doing. So with that watch, you can actually help a person when they have, it has helped a person when they were actually experiencing a stroke. And because it was monitoring the person when they're sleeping, what are they doing, it then notified maybe emergency, what is going on. The person is not breathing for some time now because they could monitor all them. So with data science, you're taking all this information and you are analyzing the person and trying to find out what is going on. So a lot of people might think, being a data scientist, you have to wear glasses and be sitting in the basement and just crunching numbers all day long, but it's quite exciting. So today we'll talk about what it actually entails. We'll talk about the business process. And so the first thing, and a lot of data science out there have confessed saying that they've missed one important part when it comes to being a data science, which is defining the problem, right? Understanding what the client actually need, what are you actually trying to solve? So once you identify the problem that the client, the stakeholders are trying to achieve or solve, and obviously documenting that information, then you will know exactly what you're going to be getting or trying to solve from that information. And you're avoiding things like this, where you are creating the model that is not what the actual client is looking for. So you don't want to do that. So you need to make sure that the first thing that you do is to define the requirement, the business requirement, what is needed. And after that, then you start looking for the data. So you're collecting all this data. This is collecting data online repository, anywhere where you are getting the actual data that is going to be able to solve that problem. And from there, you need to clean that data. So you might find either duplicates of information or data that is incorrect or inconsistent with what you're trying to solve. So you need to clean it and make sure that it's complete, so you have everything that you need to solve that problem. So just think of an example like Uber, for example. With them, they'll understand that on a Monday morning, they have a problem that not a lot of people have been complaining that they can't get form of transport because maybe everyone is going to work, so they can't get access to a car. So what the data will do, or data science will do, is get and analyze all the users and say, okay, on a Monday morning at a certain time, everyone is requesting a Uber. So what then we do is increase the price, so they are more willing to actually pay more, but will have access to these cars. Even if you have like 5, these cars will be able to accommodate everyone, because now you've increased the price, so not everyone will actually want that car. So you're using that data, you're understanding, you're using the information that you're getting from everyone and saying, okay, at a certain time, what's the time and in which area? And then you also allocating more cars to that area so you can accommodate the demand that you're getting. And after you've collected the data, you've prepared it, so making sure that you understand the data and it's complete, then you explore, you analyze this data. This is finding a pattern in your data, trying to understand what is going on with the data. Is it making sense? Is it actually correctly defined? And if you miss this stage, then you will choose a wrong business model. And so you want to make sure that you understand your data and able to apply machine learning in your data. Then the next thing is data modeling. So with data modeling, you're taking all this, you're identifying the model that best suits the business requirements. So you're taking all these patterns or the data that you've received and seeing, okay, from this, what are we then looking for, right? What are we trying to get from this data, and then choosing the best model that will fit the business requirement, the problem that you're trying to solve in the beginning. And from there, you want to make sure that you train your data precisely to give you the correct information and correct model. And you can use the obviously select the best performing model by using Python or R and so forth, right? And I just want to show you something where they were training their data. So here in this video, what you'll see is they took all the objects and they tried to define each model, what it is, so that the actual video shows you this is a person, this is because there's someone in the background that was using deep learning and identify each object and actually said, okay, this is a person. So the model would identify it as a person. So let me just mind the fact that it will be a bit noisy. So in this James Bond movie, it's actually identifying everything that's happening here. Even if it's very small, it's making sure that everything in the actual movie, any object is actually defined as it's supposed to be. So let's go back to our presentation and just look at and carry on looking at our business model. And after that, then you want to validate. So you want to check your data, check if there's any false prediction, and then you want to make sure that you have a visualization. So you want to show your data by collecting all your data. You want to show it to the person that, so let's say it's a stakeholder, you want to show them all this data. Now you want to visualize them, make sure that it looks the way they want it to look. So it looks nice in the client's face. So you're showing them where you got the data, how you collected all this data. So this is one website where a data science is using to show all the data that they've gotten and making sure that it's the visualization is there and it's showing it as it's supposed to, and how it's collected and all the information that is needed. And at the end, you see here, they were showing the data sets or the database that was collected and what information was gotten from them. And then if you look at database, because I've already touched on a database a bit, you'll find when it comes to database, there's quite a lot out there. But if you know one, so from the ranking here, you'll find there's like 10. If you just choose one from the 10 and you understand it, you'll be able to understand your data, be able to write or get schemas that will be able to showcase to your stakeholders how you got your data and how you filtered it compared to you using your spreadsheets. So one data set that I would say that it is easy to understand, or maybe because it's open source, so it's easy to download, free to download, but obviously if you want the support, then you'll have to pay for it. That's Postgres. It's number 4 on the ranking, and you can just start from there. If you know any other database besides like the ones that are listed here, then you can just start with that. At least if you understand the database, you can start from there and be able to move on and create all these data sets and showcase them to the stakeholders. So I just want to go back to the presentation. So from there, we've talked about making sure that you're visualizing your data, and then from there you're deploying. So now you're testing and selecting the best model. Obviously, you'll test it in your pre-prod, then you deploy it in your production, where you're showing your data dashboard with all the real-time analytics, and everyone can see how your data has been collected and how it now tells a story of what's going on. So the next part we'll already touch on database, things that are required or skills that are required for you to start with data science. When it comes to data science, a lot of people will tell you a list of things that you need to study or learn. And so what the research have found is, or some people or some data science have said, is if you know your your database, you know some statistics. So no, not the whole fundamentals of statistics, but you just know the big three, and just entry level, right? Just understanding it, then you can start. And when it comes to data science, you don't need to go and learn everything before you start. What is quite important when it comes to data science is you getting your data set and start working on them. So here there's a page called Kaggle, and you can start there. They have data sets and they're showing you how they've collected the information, what they've done. So if you start from there, then at least you're working with real-time examples, and you can then obviously learn from there and grow from that part. So I will also share a link from IBM. This is for training when it comes to data science. You can get this free training for yourself and get a certificate at the end. So when it comes to statistics, we've mentioned that you need to learn the three most important ones. And it's absolutely necessary for you to not just learn the overview of it and not spend months just focusing on statistics. So you will have to learn, your distribution, all distributions, just the part that that needs to know. So you know your normal distribution is needed. What is standard deviation? You need to be able to tell between mean, mode, and medium. And for each, when there's a skewness in the distribution. So when you're looking at your data, you want to understand where it's going, and how it's increasing, or what is the actual case when it comes to your data, and be able to use this data for specific significance. So people can be able to, you can prevent, it helps prevent reporting on things that you do not have actual data for. So with that, you have to learn your A/B testing, your statistics, and once you started in there, in just those three big ones, then you can go ahead and carry on with your data science and not be forced to go through everything. And then when it comes to machine learning is quite broad. So they've suggested that you start with pre-processing. So this is get the data set, training sets, and testing sets. So it will allow you to get an understanding of all these data sets if you learn pre-processing when it comes to machine learning. And your secret ingredients when it comes to data science is business acumen, your strong analytics. So remember, you're looking at your data, you're analyzing it, and you're telling a story from there. So you need to be able to manage data, have skills when it comes to managing data, and be able to remember, tell the story that we're getting this data, this is what's happening, and these are the results that you've gotten. If you get into data science, firstly, there are a lot of motivations when it comes to data science in terms of it's a future, it's one of those careers that have been said that in the future we'll need them quite more. But even now, there's so much data that is out there that companies are making sure that they want to analyze it and use it to make their business even better. So that's one thing. There's a lot of request for job opportunities when it comes to data science, and also the pay. It depends obviously on the country and your entry level, but when it comes to salaries in data science, it pays quite a lot, and you can get into any industry. So here we've listed just a few. We've listed some like in healthcare, where we talk about the example where we were saying that as analyzing a person using an app. Obviously on their Apple Watch, and analyzing them and understanding what's happening, and so that you can get into any other industries out there, education, where you're researching insights and so forth. So I'll stop there and ask if there's any questions. And then what I'll do now, while I stop there, is I'll share all the links that I talked about in the chat. Thank you so much for your time. Melissa? Hey.
Hey, how are you, Pila? Thank you. Good job on your presentation. I'm Melissa Sassy, and I will tell you first off, I couldn't sleep very good last night, so I've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning, and it is about 7:30 in the morning my time. So I have coffee, and this is my second cup of coffee. So hopefully I fare well, and hopefully I don't sound too frazzled. I am the chief penguin of IBM Z, and I head of student and entrepreneur experience globally. I have a wonderful opportunity to work with both the startup ecosystem, so founders like many of you, as well as students and lifelong learners who are out to prepare for the future of work, whether that means technical skills, entrepreneurial spirit, or professional development skills. So we've got some fun things that we'll go through today. I know we're off to a bit of a late start, but I should be able to buy us some time in my first session on personal branding. So let me just share my screen real quick. Let me make sure I get the right one up. It's on. Give me 1 second. I had it open, and then, oh, is this it? Oh, I think I might have already had it open. Yeah, good. All right, let me go to the first page. And I will present. All right, perfect. So hopefully everyone can see my screen okay. What we're going to talk about now is how you can control your own narrative in 5 easy steps. And that's really how do you kind of control how other people see you and talk about you when you're not in the room. For those of you who are on Twitter, you can find me at Mentor Africa with a K. The content that I'm going to share with you today was really inspired and adapted from materials that I got from 3 amazing individuals. First is Dux Raymond Tsai, who is the chief marketing officer of a company called AppPoint, and he's just an amazing soul and has a wonderful personal brand that he's really curated over time. And he's the guy who never liked to present, wasn't very good at it, never did public speaking, and fell flat on his face, many times over. And he was kind of the stereotypical, computer programmer who you couldn't put in front of a client until he set out on this mission to, improve his skills and become better at presenting. And as he, started learning and taking classes and practicing, he now has one of the best, he has one of the best kind of, personal brands, but he's also just an amazing speaker. I've seen him on a stage, presenting in front of thousands of people. It's also inspired by a woman named Donna Sokar, who is the chief technology officer for the accessibility team at Microsoft, and she is also an entrepreneur. Spends a lot of her time on the continent, and has been neck deep in Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, all over the place. And she's just an amazing soul. And then the last one is Miri Rodriguez, who heads up the internship program at Microsoft globally, and she is also a author of a book called Brand Storytelling. She talks a lot about design thinking, which we'll talk about today. She talks a lot about personal branding, which again, we're going to talk about now. And she's all about leading from the heart and being empathetic. So let me just stop the ability to annotate. So give me 1 second. I just need to stop sharing my screen. Give me 1 second and I will stop sharing my screen, and then I will take off the ability to annotate. So it would be great if y'all could not interrupt the presentation by annotating. Let's go in here and stop the annotating. There we go. So whoever did that, you are now disabled. Thank you, and you're welcome. Okay, all right, let's jump in. Perfect. So as I mentioned, we're going to learn how to control how others see you and describe you when you're not in the room. All right, so step one, it's finding your superpower. Figuring out, who are you? What do you want to be known for? And essentially, what is your secret weapon? So we're going to start off, and I'd like you to Google yourself. So maybe I could pull in, hey, Dorcas, are you with us? I know I didn't talk to you about maybe pulling you in as a volunteer, but let me know if you're with us, Dorcas. Or
yes, I am.
Are you with us, Dorcas? Okay, cool. I know
Yeah.
I didn't talk to you about pulling you in as a volunteer, but can I pull you in as a volunteer?
Sure thing.
It's easy, don't worry. And there's no possible way of failing. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to Google yourself. And I'd like everyone to do the same thing. So take your first name and your last name and Google yourself. Okay. Once you've done that, I'd like you to look at just some of the things that you find. And I'd like to know, like, what do you see out there? Just that first page of Google. What kind of stuff do you see out there, Dorcas?
A lot of names that are similar to mine.
Did you find yourself? That's the most important. Oh, I need to go back. Whoops. Okay. Most important thing, did you find yourself?
I found myself in the images, but yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds like we've got some work to do on your personal brand, which is okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Pila and I were in the same spot when I used to call Pila up. And now Pila's in a position where when she Googles herself, she finds some of the things that she wants to be known for.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Is that right, Pila? Remember? All right, cool.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so now what I want you to do is kind of think about, one, did you find yourself? Two, if you found yourself, if you had to describe some of the content that you see, is there, some buzzwords that you could come up with where, you could look at that material and say, oh, Dorcas is passionate about, youth empowerment or, digital skill building or, whatever it is that interests you, whatever it is that, kind of work that you do or, volunteer activities. So now what I want you to do is I want you to Google my first and last name. So I'm going to put it in the chat window. Let me find it. Okay, good. There you go. So Google my first and last name. And so Dorcas, I'm going to call on you again. You're not off the hook yet.
No.
So once you Google me, I want you to tell me, did you find me first off? And you can find the spelling of my first and last name in the chat window in case you didn't catch that.
Yes, I did.
Okay. I'm all over the first page, and if you click on the images, the videos, it's all over there, right?
Yes.
So, if you had to look at that material, and let's say you didn't know me, we've never met before. Let's say I'm coming in for a job interview, or you and I are going to, grab dinner or drink, you heard about me through a friend and we haven't met, and you want to do a little bit of research. I don't know, maybe again, I'm coming in for a job interview. And you had to look at some of the things that, I'm known for. What would you say I'm known for based on what you see? Again, not thinking about that you really know me, but, based on what you see there.
I mean, off the bat, I can see that you're the global head of the IBM Hyperprotect Accelerator. Yeah. And I can see that you're also focused on empowering early stage startups, through technology and business acceleration. So that has already stood out for me.
Cool. So, so it sounds like somebody who works at IBM, somebody who works with startups, is passionate about startups. And as you look through some of that other material, or look through the videos, or look through, some of the stuff that you may see just in the first page of all of that, or even the second page, what you'll learn is that, I'm passionate, or what you'll see demonstrated is that I'm passionate about, public speaking, sharing my skills forward, startup ecosystem, empowering women and girls. You'll also see my personal side. So think about, what is it that you want to be known for? What are those buzzwords that you would like a future manager, or a future employee, or a friend, or maybe even, someone on a romantic level? What would you want them to, think about? How would you want them to think about you from a superpower perspective? So what is that unique thing that you're, known for? Or what is that unique thing that you want to be known for? And you want to focus on your strengths. You want to be authentic. You want to be credible. You really want people to kind of know you for you, if you will. I think they have that saying that everybody else is taken, right? So you also want to know your audience. You want to think about who's listening. So once you've established what you want to be known for, you want to look across the different mediums, and that could be, events or activities or meetups in person, with classmates or others, coworkers. It could also be, in LinkedIn, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And essentially, you don't apply the same language, and you don't speak the same everywhere. So for example, if I'm making a TikTok video, I'm not gonna talk exactly the same or do exactly the same thing as I might, in LinkedIn, because the expectations are different, but also the audience is different. But ultimately, you want to speak, and you want to get familiar with public speaking. And I know that might be a little bit scary for some of us who haven't honed in our skills. I don't want to speak for Pila or Dorcas or Savio, but I'll tell you, I haven't always been good at, public speaking. It took a lot of practice, and I still mess up, and we all mess up, some things, in our lives, and that's normal. You again want to be your authentic self. You shouldn't be afraid to be vulnerable. And what I mean by that is, you shouldn't be afraid to, share your weaknesses. And I know that sounds a bit scary too, because you think, well, what if somebody's going to exploit that? And what if that vulnerability, is something that is quite traumatic for me? Think about, how do you incorporate, storytelling? You ultimately want to share and write. And that could be, creating your own website, which we'll talk about in a second. It could be just sharing, thoughts on a conference you attended. So you're at a conference today, right? You're attending a series of talks. What is it that you could do to share your skills forward with others? Does it make sense for you to, snap some photos from today's session and share some of the insights that you gathered, on LinkedIn or in a WhatsApp group? So there's a lot of different ways that you can even repackage content that someone else presents to you, and use that to share your skills forward. And I'm not saying that you should plagiarize and steal anybody's material, because that doesn't get you far either. Obviously credit, what you've learned and who you learned it from. As you're talking, as you're collaborating with others, either online or offline, you want to act with empathy. You want to be prepared to teach and inspire others. But again, I think it's super important to think about, as you're engaging in social media or public speaking, how do you tell relevant stories? They say that, people remember how you made them feel. They may not remember like the words you said, but they remember that feeling that you gave them. If, you made them feel that, they can approach you, that they can do it. They've got, the confidence that they never thought they had, people remember that feeling. So step 3 is really about being there, and being there consistently. So that means, well, having a personal brand by having, a variety of social networks that you take part in. We all know that there's good and bad with social media, but ultimately, when it comes to your personal brand, you do have to show up. And I will tell you that before I got my job here at IBM, and I've been at IBM for the last 2.5 years, I joined from Microsoft. I spent 5 years at Microsoft. My last job at Microsoft was as an impact investor, where I built internet and energy access solutions around the world. Fun fact, one of the first projects that I had an opportunity to engage in was in Kenya. So there you go. But take part in events, and that could be small meetups, it could be hackathons, it could be coding camps. Use that opportunity to raise your hand and ask questions. Use that opportunity to, volunteer to be on a marketing committee, to help organize. These all lead toward building your eminence and being present. You want to build useful messaging. You want to stick to that message. Again, it's really important to be useful to others. And, there are times where you may be useful to some, not to others. You may win some, you lose some. That's how it goes. As I mentioned earlier, you may want to create your own website. And that really allows you to control your own mediums. Today, I'm going to give you insight into how you can join our IBMC Global Student Hub, where I will give you access to guest blog for any of you who is interested. But again, focus on building your brand so that you, again, can control how others see you and talk about you when you're not in the room. When I joined IBM, my boss, my VP, already had a good idea of who I was, what I was about, and was pretty convinced she wanted to hire me. Imagine you apply for a job, you haven't met someone, you don't have any connections between you, but that person feels like, yep, I need to hire that person. That happened to me. And how did that happen? By having a personal brand, by focusing on what content I shared in Twitter, what I shared in LinkedIn, what kind of, video materials that I had, shared, conferences, all of that kind of stuff. So think about who your industry peers are and engage with them. Set goals to expand your network and actually follow through. How many times do we meet somebody new and, we mean to follow up, but we don't, make a point to network, even if it's meeting, a couple people every month. I'm not saying that you need to go out and meet, 200 people every month, set a small goal and set a meaningful goal of people who, can help you, expand your knowledge in areas where, you can help others expand their knowledge. But be proactive, again, follow up right away. Be prepared to learn from others, share, help others, and essentially be a friend. Lend a helping hand. So for example, if you are on LinkedIn, for example, and you see, an interesting, article that you want to share, what can you do to comment and be like, hey, this is really good. Thank you for sharing. It's infectious to be kind. So, don't be a troll, and also don't respond to trolls. Know when you need to block someone, know when you need to walk away. I'm not saying that you need to be nice to everyone online. You want to build unique emotional connections, and that means empowering others to share their story, listening and speaking with empathy. It's super empowering to be empathetic. We're going to talk a lot about that when we talk about design thinking, but, find what connects you to others and enable them to shine, so that, the shining is on them, not on you. But, again, emotional connection is powerful, and you can emotionally connect with people, virtually. I have a lot of people I've met, through like Twitter, for example. We've never met in real life, but gosh, it feels like we have this really strong bond or really strong emotional connection where, it feels like we're, we have met and we have, been together in real life. Being authentic is both contagious, but it's also quite, empowering and inspiring, and, for someone to feel like that you kind of roll up your sleeves and get to know them as a person, no matter, how big your brand is, no matter how small your brand is, you always have something to learn from anyone and everyone around you. We're all human. Don't be afraid to let your vulnerabilities shine. So let's talk about how I, found my superpower. So for me, I work on, one of my biggest passions is digital inclusion and making meaningful use of the internet. And what I mean by that is using technology to create outcomes, whether that's, having a good job, creating your own company and becoming economically independent, being able to monitor and improve your healthcare, through access to information, for example, so improving healthcare outcomes. It's also, how do you use technology to create agricultural outcomes? So for a small rural farmer, what might that individual do to utilize technology to better manage, his or her yields, pricing, etc. This is a whole bunch of examples. You may or may not have seen some of these that, kind of led to, me building my brand. That was, speaking at events, speaking at webinars, setting my own series of things up, blogging, and really taking an opportunity to share my skills forward. All right, so, the way that I talk, with the Prime Minister of Cabo Verde, which on the bottom left-hand corner, that's the Prime Minister of Cape Verde. For those of you who may not be familiar with Cape Verde, it's a small island state off of the west coast of Africa with about 500,000 people. And we created a National Day of Code in Cape Verde, and the Prime Minister did a shout out in his Facebook and kind of the official channels about the National Day of Code and our project. Creating a National Day of Code in this country was my idea. And I pitched it to a government official who liked it, went to the Prime Minister, and basically, helped us to kind of bring this to fruition by, sharing, our passion for technology, our passion for computer science with young people across the country. I was really excited to, hear that he, had direct knowledge of something that I created. So really exciting. I often will share, very personal and intimate knowledge, or my personal life, with others. Sometimes more than I should. I think for some people's comfort level, if you will. Some of us, we have this block where work is here and our private life is here. I kind of blend the two, and that's kind of my comfort level. Not everybody feels comfortable with that. The UN wrote an article about, me being the chief penguin of IBM, which I was really excited about. So that kind of, helped to lead the charge that I should have this fun job title instead of something else. But yeah, lots of, really fun and interesting things that I've had an opportunity to be a part of, and, see others write about my work versus me always writing about it. So you'll notice that, I wrote a blog, for example, IBM picked it up and shared it with our 8 million followers on LinkedIn. And some, I think, interesting and empowering, inspiring, WhatsApp messages that I've got over time, or Facebook messages that I've got over time that says, hey, keep doing what you're doing because you're making an impact in this country or with this individual. As I mentioned, it's really important to just be there, whether that's judging a hackathon, taking part in a hackathon, offering to be, a guest speaker. If you don't feel comfortable with that, hey, lead, volunteer with a startup, volunteer with a nonprofit, set up time for you to, present and lead discussions both virtually and in person. Is one of the most valuable skills to help you prepare for the future of work. In 2010, I spoke at 52 events in 10 countries. In 2020, 150 events, most of those virtual, like the one we're doing today. Again, most of what I talk about is digital inclusion, entrepreneurship, startups, youth empowerment, but a lot of these things kind of permeate throughout all of the talks that I give, and a lot of things kind of are interrelated, if you will. I still haven't built my own website. It's coming, and Pila's probably heard me say this a million times since 2019, so she's probably gonna pass out when I actually get it done. So speaking of following through on things, it's important that we follow through versus just talking like me and my website. Think about who your industry peers are, engage with them. These are a number of different pictures of, how I've had an opportunity to adjust my style, show up and meet just some amazing people who've turned into both colleagues, friends, sponsors, mentors, mentees, across the board. And again, don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to share here's what I'm worried about. Here's what I'm not worried about. Here's what scares me. Here's what, keeps me up at night. And I'm not saying you should share all of your dirty laundry with everyone, but, how do you make sure that people see you as approachable? Speaking of being approachable, this is really, kind of emphasizing the importance of having emotionally connected relationships. Go into things thinking like, I want to, learn and share, and I want to be a friend. I want to emotionally connect with others. I want to inspire them to shine. I want to empower them to shine. I want to, tell stories about my journey to help others maybe avoid some of the pitfalls that you've had in your life. And that's all about finding common grounds, if you will. So again, I am on Twitter. You can find me at Mentor Africa with a K. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we have a break for the next 5 minutes. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right, cool. So Savio, I think we have 5-minute break. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So we can have 5 minutes break as people Google or search themselves on the web and see what appears there.
All right, cool. So I'll see you back here in 5 minutes. So I'll be waiting.
Yeah, thank you. Let's wait.
Savio, let me know when you think we're ready to get started again. I forgot to look and see what time it was when we had the break.
We should be back in 1 minute now.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
So just from the chat, there's some people asking the wallet. So we'll share the recording later. Yeah, we'll also share the recording for those people who missed the introduction. We have Terry saying, great presentation, Melissa. Joseph Washira saying, I missed point number 5. Yeah. We have
I just added it in there. So build unique and lasting emotional connections. So,
okay.
Look to find common ground with others and look to emotionally connect with them. So, what is it that you have in common, and how can you, connect with one another?
Yeah.
On a personal level.
Yeah.
Something special that is unique about, the relationship that you have with one another. Before, Pila and I met, we had worked together for quite some time, virtually. And, it felt like we'd already met in real life by the time we actually met. And I have similar experiences like that with, people I've, come across in Twitter, in LinkedIn and a variety of places. So that's what you should, strive to have with your connections. You're not going to have that with everyone. You're not going to connect with everyone, but the better you strive to have emotional connections, the better relationship you'll have online, offline, and the better, you'll have kind of sponsorship from others who kind of advocate for you and on your behalf when you're not in the room.
Yeah, so I guess now it's time. Maybe we can now go to the next session on design thinking.
Cool. I think we had design thinking next, and then we were going to do like a pro last. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, cool. So let me just share my screen. Okay, perfect. So I got this presentation, not exactly the same thing, but kind of some elements of this presentation came from Interaction Design Foundation, and a couple of people I look up to who I consider to be design thinking experts or practitioners, and that's Tyler King. She works at IBM with me, and a friend of mine named Ade who works at SAP. He's from Nigeria and just does some really cool, things across Nigeria when it comes to empowering youth to code. He runs a variety of activities under Africa Code Week that is often done in collaboration with UNESCO. So what we're going to talk about now is design thinking. So let's jump right in. I've already introduced myself for those of you who are just now joining and maybe missed the first part. I'm Melissa Sassy, and I'm the Chief Penguin of IBM-Z, and I head up student and entrepreneur experience globally within the IBM-Z division of IBM. And if you're on Twitter, you can find me at Mentor Africa with a K. So feel free to give me a follow and reach out. Feel free to ask any questions that might pop. So first thing is I'm gonna kind of pose this question to you, probably rather rhetorically, but what is design? I think sometimes we think that design is making making pretty things, but it's really not making pretty things. That's not what design is. So let's talk about what design thinking is. It's really a human-centered technique or techniques that help us to solve problems. It's kind of a systematic way for us to gain access to insights, and it teaches us how we can learn from the world around us. And really you can apply it anywhere and everywhere. It can be applied both in your academic life, your personal life, in your startup, in a big company, in someone else's company. In many respects, it can also be applied in your personal life, as you'll see in a bit. So a lot of different people, a lot of different organizations, whether that's academia, nonprofit, big tech, other, large companies, small companies, utilize design thinking. And it's for any discipline, whether you're a designer, a freelancer, a founder, a developer. These are just a handful of, different types of people, but, you can implement design thinking if you're a, medical doctor or, a computer programmer. And if we think about it, we've got, people who we work with or study with who have different genders and experiences and ages. And let me just make sure that I am taking off the annotations. So hold on one second. Oh no, it's still off. Good. Okay, cool. So it's about really incorporating people different ways of thinking, people from different backgrounds and abilities. And, it's really about observing. It's about developing empathy, because ultimately the way to understand your audience and see potential solutions to your problems, or the problem that you're facing, in at work, with a product, with some kind of service, whatever it is, empathy. So it's essential for us to understand our audience, and that means challenging your assumptions, looking at alternative strategies, different ways of thinking, and solving problems. And that means identifying unmet needs. That means creating joy and, well, resolving your customers' pain points, or the pain points of your team. So we know that lots of people build cool stuff. There are lots of cool products out there. There are lots of cool apps and companies. And I think sometimes you think that smart people build, cool stuff, but, you could be super smart and you might build something. And I see this all the time. People will build something and they don't actually ever talk to their audience. So meaning they come up with a storyline for an app and they think about the user journey. And they think about this, that, and the other, but they never talk to their audience. They get too close to the product, the service, or the solution and forget that they're not actually the customer. So the question is, imagine, a situation where you ask yourself, would people actually use this product? Because ultimately, we all want to make cool things. But what if we make a cool thing, or we think it's cool, but no one actually wants to use your cool thing. Nobody wants to download your app, or if they do, they don't do anything with it, and you're not able to monetize or nurture your community. So what if people want to use your cool thing, but they can't? So your user experience is broken. That's a huge problem. Whether that means people can't use your solution or people don't want to use your solution. Both are issues. So as I mentioned, design thinking is really a systematic way for solving complex problems and creating new and innovative ideas. And it takes three main components: people, space can be virtual or in person, and a process. That all leads to, innovation. This is one kind of way of thinking about, the design thinking process. It starts out with empathy. So remember, empathy is all about, understanding and relating to the feelings of others. You may not know what it's like to be in their shoes, but you can try to, empathize or understand some of their pain points and challenges as you define your audience. And again, that means their needs, their wants, their frustrations and pain points. Then you move on to ideating, and that means challenging your assumptions and creating innovative ideas and solutions based on what you defined, and also empathizing with your audience. You may develop a prototype, and then you want to test out that prototype, meaning you may want to do kind of a test and learn strategy where you start small and you test out that prototype. You want to challenge the norm. You want to think outside in. You want to build a diverse and inclusive team, but you want to talk to people who are in your audience. Now, it may not make sense to talk to people in different countries or certain age groups or certain level of experience. And the reason I say that is it depends upon your target market for your startup, your hackathon project, your school project, who is it that you're trying to target, and how do you make sure that you have exhausted conversations, with that individual or with those individuals, so you truly understand their wants, their needs, their frustrations, and their pain points. So you want to think about who's facing that problem, why are they facing it, and how are others, what is your competition, how are others trying to solve that challenge. You may look at the different components that make up a problem, that our audience faces. Those components often make up the features for your app, for your e-commerce solution. And they're the things that you look to kind of explore fixing, if you will. If you think about running a number of experiments, and let's say one of them, and this is another way of thinking about the design thinking process, it's testing, it's learning, it's iterating, it's asking, it's listening, until you ultimately get to an answer, that yellow door, for example, amongst all of those many doors that are available to you. I love this quote. It's easier to tone down a wild idea than think up a new one. I'm a big fan of encouraging wild, crazy, innovative ideas. Maybe none of them land, but they get the creative juices flowing, and they might lead you to an interesting insight or innovation that you may not have thought about otherwise. That often comes through brainstorming. I mean, throwing out, new ideas, unique ideas, innovative ideas. But you've got to have a moderator when you do this brainstorming session to make sure everybody's, staying on track. And you're popping in and out with ideas. You're seeing where things go, but you're very diverse and inclusive, meaning you've got a diverse team, and you're inclusive, meaning even if someone might be more introverted than others, how do you make sure they feel part of the group? So think about a lot of ideas. Some of them might not be the best ideas. Some might suck. Quality comes later. You want to think big. And by the way, I need to correct the spelling on this. That should be an I instead of an E. But think big and narrow it down later. So if you're thinking about a brainstorming session, you're going to always have a time limit. You're going to start with the problem. You're going to encourage people to be weird and different. You may be visual, with Post-it notes or mural or some kind of online tool to help you collaborate. You're not going to judge, the ideas that others bring forward, even if you think they're the dumbest idea, out there. You want to be supportive of your team and your colleagues, but you want to shoot for a lot of ideas. You want to build from others. You want to talk about things as a group. But again, you need that note taker to make sure that as you're brainstorming, how do you respond to the wants, needs, frustrations, and pain points of your audience with solutions that you've got someone that's helping you to stay on track. You want to be free and open and not afraid to share your ideas. Again, you may write them down. You may use mural. You may illustrate, but ultimately you're going to share things with the group. You're going to be imaginative, because stories can unlock unhidden ideas or hidden ideas. There you go. So think about outlandish, wild, weird, different things. You want to break the norm. And you want to capture the synergy across the team. So even your more reserved team members, you want to make sure that they feel safe to share ideas and be involved in the conversation. Kicking the same old to the curb. So once you've come up with some ideas and you've kind of got a good indication of where you want to go, you might prototype. That might be, digitally, it may be, with a piece of paper, could be anything. And you want to ask your audience for insights. You want to, talk to people. You want to strut your prototype magic. You want to, understand, kind of where are you now? How do you adapt? How do you show, what you've been working on? And how do you minimize errors by incorporating feedback from your audience? Prototyping is really an ongoing experiment. And so you want to try things out with your audience. It may look like this. It may look like that. But you want to take your prototype for a spin. Allow others to look at it, see it, and share feedback. Because why are we doing this? By getting insight early and having your audience involved, you're going to prevent mistakes. You might even correct a mistake that you made early on because you didn't either have the right insight, it's a new insight, or maybe you just didn't talk to your audience. All of these things are much better than failing miserably. So you want to evaluate early and ask often. So this whole innovation thing that we're leading to, innovation is really about something that, creating a solution that's desirable, feasible, and viable. So you want to think about what worked, what didn't work. You want to adapt to what best fits, to meet your audience needs. This is another way of looking at the design thinking process, because there are lots of schools of thought. They all are basically the same, but you'll notice that we might have X number of steps versus Y. This is the IBM one, where you notice it's kind of a loop that is in a continuous, infinity sign, if you will. You're observing, you're reflecting, you're making. Because you want to, for lack of incorporating a cliche, you want to fail fast, you want to fail cheap, and you want to fail better. So again, just to review, we're going to build a diverse and inclusive team. We're going to identify our audience. We're going to plan our project. We're going to establish a timeline. We're going to focus. We're going to validate our assumptions with real people. We're going to shift it if necessary, but ultimately we're going to do the thing. We're going to build the product. We're going to build the solution. We're going to create the hackathon artifact, if you will. But sometimes you're going to learn that you didn't do a great job, or you didn't think about something, or the situation or life has changed. You might have to pivot. You're not going to be afraid of that. You're going to create choices of yourself, and you're going to think big, and you're going to make decisions until you get to the right door. That is that yellow door, if you will. Again, you don't want to kind of lead yourself to believe that you're the audience. In most cases, you are not the audience. And you may not know how your audience thinks. So you got to talk to your audience. You want to find your customers, talk to them, talk with them. You want to build empathy with them. You want to document what you've learned in kind of around the framework of, what did they say? What do they think? What do they feel? And what do they do? You might capture quotes or actions, expectations, reactions, values, or really make sense of what you wrote down. You're going to identify pain points, and that's where you want to focus. So you want to think about, that person's life. How do they engage with your product, service, or solution? And we want to think about, those pain points. What does that mean exactly? That means something that's either painful, slow, challenging, costly, confusing, scary, or maybe even uncomfortable. So we want to think about it like this: is who needs a way to do what, so that why? Why are they doing that thing? But how? Here we go. We're not keeping ideas in our head. We're taking our sticky notes and we're going to categorize them. We're going to put them into buckets to help us figure out how can we take this brainstorming session, how can we take these quotes and these pain points and all of this stuff and categorize them into, different, steps throughout the journey of your product, your service, your solution. And what you want to think about, what are they doing? What do they think? And how do they feel? Again, join your audience on their journey as much as you can. You always want to communicate, and always want to be aligned with your team. Okay, snap news and communication happen, but, stay aligned to your team. And you should never forget that your audience or your customers or your clients, these are real people. They have real problems and they have real pain points. So for those of you who are interested in earning a digital badge on design thinking, I'm going to put this link in the chat window so that you have it. And I would encourage you to check this out. It is a great training that I personally like, and you can get badges from it, which is always interesting for our job seekers or people who are looking at lifelong learning. So that's where you can get a design thinking badge. Let me go back to presenting this. All right, cool. Any questions? Savio, what did you think? Any questions from your side?
No, not yet. Just seeing people, they're enjoying the session. Yeah.
All right, perfect. So, I'm gonna give folks a couple of minutes to kind of think and reflect, and ask a question if you'd like. We've got one more session after this, which is Pitch Like a Pro. How are we doing on time, Savio?
We are good because we are now 30 minutes. We are at 4:30, so we have 30 minutes more.
Okay, perfect, perfect.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to give folks a couple minutes to think about, design thinking session if you have any questions. So, and that gives me a chance to grab some water because I realized I did not grab water during the last break. So I'll be right back.
That's okay.
Okay, perfect. So I don't see any questions, so I'm gonna jump into our last session. Oh, I know that one was fast. I was trying to make sure we got to the Pitch Like a Pro. So I'm happy to upload that presentation into SlideShare and share that with you if we have time before this ends. So I think the key thing for that one is there's a process that you follow to incorporate your audience pain points, frustrations, and joys. And it's called design thinking, and it's all about empathizing with your audience. It's about creating products and services that take your audience into consideration. And those are the key things that you need to think about: is empathy, audience insights, customer pain points, frustrations, joys and aspirations. And if you take anything away from the last 30 minutes, it would be that sound bite. The rest of it's just detail. All right, cool. So I'm going to share my screen again. So let me close this. And let's do Pitch Like a Pro. All right, cool. So you all know me by now, so I'm not gonna introduce myself again. So I'm gonna do a little exercise with you now. If you've enjoyed today's session, if you'd like to learn more, if you'd like to win T-shirts, other prizes, if you'd like to earn badges and certificates, if you'd like to network, with IBM experts or tech experts, also peers, your peers from all over the world. If you'd like to become a brand ambassador for my team, for our team, if you'd like to get invites to special events, if you'd like to be featured in IBM events, videos, or blogs, if you'd like to take part in our flagship student contest, if you'd like to learn tech skills, professional development skills, or entrepreneurship skills, this is the place to go. So I'm going to put this in the chat window right now. Just give me 1 second. All right, so what you're going to do now is you're going to click on that link, and I'm going to ask now if I can maybe get a volunteer. So that could be you, Savio, it could be anyone else in the audience, it could be Dorcas. Is there anyone who would be willing to be a volunteer with me and maybe share their screen? It's going to be easy, I'll walk you through it. So, don't be shy. Anybody wants to raise their hand before I volunteer someone? Don't all raise your hands at once. All right, Savio, can I volunteer you?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, perfect. If you could share your screen and if you could go to that link in the chat window, so that's http:// or actually ibm.biz/student hub. So if you could share your screen, share your browser, and go to that site, that would be super.
Okay, just a moment. So it's ibm.com.
Yeah, and can you share your screen? I don't see your screen share.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so if you could just click on that link and see if that works for you. I'm going to click on it just to make sure that I got it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's working for me, but click on it again. That's not taking you to the right place. Huh, that's weird.
Yeah, it's
That's so strange. It's working for me. Okay, let me try. Give me 1 second. I'll add the long form URL. Okay, try it. See if this one works for you. It should take you to the same place. But I don't know why that's not working. It's working fine for me, which is weird. Who knows? I might have you try another browser, but let's see what goes on.
see.
Is it the same one?
Now this is working. So let me share it.
Okay, cool. So what you'll notice is when you click on this, and by the way, to get a certificate of participation for today's event, you have to register for the Student Hub. So please follow along. We're going to teach you how to do that now. So give it just a second as it loads. So what you'll notice is you see over in the left-hand side where it says login or register. Click on that. So you're going to click on login or register. It's on the left-hand side in that hero banner. It's going to take you to a login page. It says login to IBM. And most of us probably do not have IBM IDs. If you have taken part in other training sessions with IBM and have been on a learning journey with IBM, you may already have one, but I suspect many of you do not. So if you look underneath continue, it says don't have an account, create an IBM ID. Click on create an IBM ID. All right, and then if you could fill out, put your email, put your first and last name.
Okay,
then,
I already have an ID.
Oh, you already have one. Do you have another email address by chance?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's try it with another email address. I need to have someone who is new. That's why I'm not going through it, because I already have an account myself. Perfect, good. So then put in a password, and you can see the requirements down below. All right, perfect. Then you're going to click on next, and what's going to happen is you're going to get a code. Oh, you have to have 8 characters minimum and 1 lowercase character. It's always a challenge with the password.
Mm-hmm.
So 8 characters minimum. So make sure you've got 8 characters. Okay, that should be good now. Click next. Awesome. There we go. It's sending you a verification code to your email. Each of you will get one. You're not going to want to use the one from Savio. So grab that 7-digit code from your email. Again, each of you will have a unique one. So once that comes through, you can add that code there.
Yeah, then.
And then you can click on by email and then click create account. It's gonna, tell you, hey, are you a good person? Yes, I am. Proceed. All right, they're gonna set up your IBM ID. And this can be used across IBM for a lot of different, different things for learning and development and, attending events and lots of cool stuff. And then you're going to want to go down to the bottom of the page because you've got to accept the terms and conditions and click on I agree. And then you're going to see instead of log in or register, remember at the very beginning when it said log in or register, it should say contribute if it went through okay. So go back, scroll back up to the top. Yeah, give it just a second. It's looks like it's still loading. Now you want to click on join our group. And then yes, join the group. And you should be in now. Now it should say contribute. Sometimes it's a little bit wonky, but those are the steps that each of you should be following. And again, to get your certificate of participation, you should register for the IBMC Global Student Hub, which is what we have just done here. So what you'll see in here is a series of blogs. So you'll see in that kind of the tabs at the top, we've got blogs. You've got an opportunity to check out discussions, events, videos, library, and you can also see who else is in the group. This is where we talk about our different campaigns, where we talk about our student contests. This is where, if you're interested in becoming a brand ambassador, this is where we will post the call for applications. All right, cool. Thank you, Savio, for being my guinea pig. I appreciate it. You can stop sharing your screen now, but thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, cool. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. The other cool thing is now we're going to feed a child for the day by you registering. So that we will donate meals for one child for the day through World Food Program just for you registering. Our Z Ambassador program, you can learn about this year-long leadership program. It's quite a prestigious program that also gives you technical training. You can get swag and prizes. Again, you can find that on the hub when the call for application launches. Same thing with our student contest that will be launching shortly. You'll be able to, again, win money, prizes, t-shirts, meet experts, and have access to employers. So lots of cool stuff. So let's jump into the session because I know we don't have much time, so I'm going to zip through this one quickly. So pitch presentation is really something that allows you to share a brief presentation about your business, your hackathon project, your school project. You want it to make it engaging. Obviously, it's a visual prompt, and you want to use it with anyone and everyone. So think about what that problem statement is. Start there. What is that big, wicked problem that you're trying to solve? And when you're talking about that big problem, you want to include data. You want to be concise. You want to kind of demonstrate that you understand the problem, and you want to persuade and influence your audience on, when it comes to the impact that that problem has on a community, on the world, what have you. And your problem statement, it could be 1 or 2 sentences. It may be longer. That's not the end of the world. And you want to think about what's the problem, who has the problem, where does the problem exist, when does it come to life, and how does it impact others? So that's your problem statement. That's where you start. Again, you want to be data-driven. Everything should be based off of real, solid, reputable, credible, and reliable data. You're not getting caught up in media misinformation or disinformation or fake news. And you are demonstrating that there is evidence of this problem existing so that people can see, feel, hear, hey, this is a problem that needs to be solved. You may want to think about your motivation, maybe a personal story, your origin story that emotionally connects you to the audience and the problem so that they see that you are the only team or you're the only one to solve that problem. Similar to the design thinking session, we always want to build a diverse and inclusive team. It's going to lead toward better insights and better products. You want to think about who's doing what. You know, what does that advisory board look like? What are the key responsibilities and roles across the team? What does that management structure look like? You want to introduce your solution. And again, demonstrating that you are the only one to solve that problem. You want people to feel your product. That could be through a demo, it could be through pictures, maybe even a video. I like to think about the first 12 to 6 to 12 months. Definitely showcase your tech chops. If you're introducing something that has a technical component, it may be your architectural diagram. But again, read your audience and determine whether a deep dive on technical stuff is relevant or not. You may want to highlight what's coming in version 1, recognizing that you're not going to solve everything in version 1, or you're going to end up spinning and never creating anything. You want to think about your product market fit. So, are people ready for your solution? Do they want to buy your solution? Are they going to, choose you over the competition? You also want to think about what other solutions, exist, within the market. That could be direct, that could be indirect. You want to think about what that competitive landscape looks like in terms of, where are your competitors failing? What are they missing? Where are they succeeding? And well, how is your solution better? You may create buyers personas, and this is very closely aligned to design thinking, where you're empathizing with your audience, you're talking to them and with them, you're understanding them, and you're thinking about their wants, needs, aspirations, frustrations, and pain points. You're also looking at the size of your market, demographics of your customer, maybe the geography or geographies. What have you done already? And do you have any customer testimonials? You want to think about how you're going to reach your customers. So what are your marketing tactics? Marketing tactics can be a lot of different things, from social media to events to influencers to email to a lot of different things. How are you going to make money? Don't forget that you can also do well while doing good, meaning you can make the world a better place and you can also make money. You want to think about how much investment you need. If somebody writes you a check today, what are you going to do with it? Where are you going to go? You want to captivate your audience with your close. You want to summarize your pitch in a minute, and then you want to open the floor for questions. So I'm going to give you all a few minutes to fill out a survey. Don't forget, to get your certificate today, you have to register for the hub. Hey, Pila, are you still with us?
Who?
So Savio, I'm getting an urgent call on my mobile. Can you let me grab this for a second while and I'll be right back while I keep this screen up?
Yes, yeah, that's okay. As people fill up the survey, and it should take like 2 minutes. So maybe we can go ahead and fill the survey and wait for Melissa to come back. So if you want to fill the survey is at ibm.biz/Mount Kenya, MT-Kenya.
Hi, Savio.
Hi.
Can you say that again? Sorry, I missed that.
There's some links on the screen. So for you to register to the hub, what I had demonstrated, you need to go to IBM. Or let me just write it on the chat. I have written them on the chat, so you can follow the relevant links for you to be able to fill the survey and join the hub.
Okay, Savio, I'm back. You still there?
Yes, we are here.
Sorry about that. All right, cool. Did everybody get a chance to fill out the survey? And does anyone have any questions?
Okay, there's some people asking how they can join, but I already shared the link. Also on social
Okay,
media,
perfect.
there are people who are asking about how they can join the IBM hub, but I've shared the link.
Cool. And what will happen is you fill out this form and you'll get a, it'll take you about a minute. It's really quick. And you'll get your certificate of participation within this sometime this week.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, perfect, perfect. Well, thank you very much, Savio, Dorcas, everyone for having us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, excellent. So anything else you I can do before I bounce off? Do you want to say some kind of final parting words?
So for me, maybe I can just ask one representative maybe to say some simple remarks in regards to the session. I can just choose randomly. I don't know if Ashinga is here. Maybe Ashinga can give some simple remarks in regards to the session, how it was, how would you like to learn next? Yeah. Is Ashinga here?
Yeah, Savio, I'm here. Yeah, Savio, thanks. I'm here. Yeah, it has been a great session. Personally, I've learned a lot, and I hope it will be better if the recording can also be shared. Otherwise, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ashinga. How about Solomon Burunga?
Thank you, Silvio. I think we don't know each other. I think today's topic was excellent. It was captivating, although it was a bit fast. This is a training that should probably design thinking and also pitching themselves up, the issue of having data when you are coming up with ideas. And I think what personally I've learned quite a lot in terms of pitching yourself. If you have a solution to a particular to get data, it's something that you just wake up and expect people to back you up. It's something that you need really to work out, to work on. And I also this platform of IBM, I think, is going to offer the young people, a platform to share and probably maybe to get mentorship and build themselves. Otherwise, I want to thank the presenter. She's been very precise, very clear, and I just want to tell her thank you so much, and the organizers, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Solomon. Because of the gender sensitive, we can do Maureen Kirigo. Maureen. If as Maureen checks up, we can do Commander, if Commander is here. As Commander prepares, we can do Dorcas.
All right. I'd just like to say, as everyone has said, just thank IBM for the training that they've given us. Hoping that the audience that is here will, take advantage of the resources, whether you're in university or you've just started out your career or you are progressing in your career. I think some of the content that they've given us is really key for us as young people. So I'd just like to thank IBM. Thank you, Savio, for putting this together and getting your audience on board. We're really thankful.
Thank you. I can see Maureen. Maureen Kirigo. Okay. Maybe most of the comments that I've seen also on social media, Phila, is if we can be having a longer time. So maybe we can now be having, mainly today was all about the introduction, but now when it comes to design thinking, I know we'll be having another session that is only on design thinking. And that's when we can have ample time to discuss, to go through, and even to try and have real case scenarios where people can go through and discuss. Also in regards to pitching like a pro, we'll also have a dedicated session in regards to pitching like a pro. And we can even have and listen some of the innovators speech, and Phila, Melissa can also come and try to groom them around. Is that okay, Phila? Melissa?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So
what was the question?
Yeah, I was saying that in regards to the time, later on we'll be having now deeper sessions that are just dedicated to one topic. Like if it's pitching like a pro, we can have a session mainly on pitching like a pro. And since we have a lot of innovators here and entrepreneurs, they can be able to pitch, and maybe we can try to correct them, give them the brutal truth and everything. That would be better.
Yeah, I think that makes it more real instead of theoretical.
Yes. So I know. So maybe the next one, as you can write to us, you can write on the chat on the chat box. You can propose which is the next topic that you want to learn, whether and which do you want to learn deeper? Is it design thinking? Is it introduction to data science? So we can have one and discuss deeply into it without a hurry. But the session has been good, and we are going to share the recording. It was also live on Facebook. You can go and try and check it up. So I don't know whether there is any other comment from the audience, and yeah. So if not, maybe Melissa, you can give your parting shot, and Phila, yeah. Melissa, you can give us your parting shot.
All right, what do you want me to do now?
Just say goodbye.
My goodbye. Oh, I got it. Okay. I thought we were doing like taking a photo.
Yes.
I told you I was tired today. Thank you very much for taking part in today's session. I appreciate having an opportunity to share my skills forward. I hope it's helpful for you. I know some of them went a little bit fast. I hope you all were able to follow along. Best of luck as you craft your pitches, as you think about incorporating empathy into anything and everything that you do. And also, build your eminence by focusing on your personal brand. Any questions you have that comes after this, you can post them in the IBM Z Global Student Hub. Thank you and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, Phila. So maybe for the last one, anybody who can switch on the camera, we can just take a selfie, then we can leave. So if we are in the positions to switch on your camera, yeah, you can do that. So thank you very much. We are going to send you make sure you have registered so that you'll be able to receive the certificate. Yes, I know they are going to help you one day. So thank you very much and see you tomorrow. And goodbye.